You've probably heard of flow state, that moment when everything clicks, time disappears, you stop thinking about what you're doing and you just do it. Athletes call it being in the zone. Psychologists have studied it for decades. But here's the thing, most advice about flow treats it like something that happens to you, like lightning. You can't predict it, you can't control it, you just hope it shows up. The Soviet sports system didn't believe in hope. They believed in preparation. And while they never used the word flow, they built a system that created the conditions for it on demand. This video is about how they did it and how you can copy the method. Let's start with what flow actually is. In 1990, a psychologist named Mihai Csikszentmihalyi published a book called Flow. Over the following decade, he and his colleagues refined the model and identified 9 dimensions of the experience. The most important ones are these. First, there has to be a balance between the challenge and your skill level. Too easy and you get bored. Too hard and you get anxious. Second, you need clear goals, not vague ones. Specific, immediate goals for what you're about to do. Third, you need feedback. You have to know in real time whether what you're doing is working. Fourth, your concentration has to be fully on the task, nothing else. And fifth, self-consciousness drops away. You stop watching yourself perform and just perform. Now, here's what the Soviets figured out independently. Decades before Csikszentmihalyi published his book, a Soviet sports psychologist named Avsentij Puni was building a system with overlapping principles. Puni called his optimal competition state boyovaya gotovnost, readiness to fight. It had 5 components: sensible self-confidence, uncompromising effort, optimal emotional arousal, high tolerance for stress and distraction, and self-control. Look at the third component, optimal emotional arousal. Not maximum arousal, not minimum, optimal. This aligns with something Western psychology has known since 1908, the Yerkes-Dodson law. Performance follows an inverted U-curve. Too little arousal and you're flat. Too much and you choke. The peak sits in the middle. The Soviets didn't cite Yerkes and Dodson, but they arrived at the same place through a different route. Puni never used the word flow. That's a Csikszentmihalyi concept, but the overlap is hard to ignore. Both systems require the right arousal level, total task focus, and the disappearance of self-monitoring. The difference is that Puni didn't describe a spontaneous experience. He designed a reproducible protocol. So here's the protocol adapted for you. 3 steps. Each one sets up a condition that flow requires. Step 1. Set a single clear target before you begin. This is the most underrated step. Most people start working, studying, or training with a vague intention. Something like, I'm going to practice piano, or I'm going to study for the exam. That's not a target, that's a direction. A target sounds like this. I'm going to play the first 16 bars of this piece at tempo without stopping. Or, I'm going to solve 10 practice problems from chapter 4. Why does this matter? Csikszentmihalyi's research is clear on this. Flow requires clear goals and immediate feedback. If your goal is vague, you can't tell if you're succeeding. And if you can't tell if you're succeeding, your brain starts wandering. It looks for other things to pay attention to. Your phone, your thoughts, the clock. A single clear target gives your attention something to lock onto. There's also a neuroscience angle here. Gabriele Wolf, a researcher at the University of Nevada, has spent over 2 decades studying attentional focus and motor performance. Her work, confirmed by a comprehensive meta-analysis in the Psychological Bulletin covering 73 studies and over 1,800 participants, shows that an external focus of attention, focusing on the effect of your movement rather than on your body, leads to significantly better performance. When you focus on a clear external target, your motor system runs more automatically. When you focus on yourself, you interfere with that automation. Puni understood this intuitively. His 4th component of boyovaya gotovnost was high tolerance for stress and distraction. In the original Elite FTS article describing his system, the author writes that elite athletes in the zone report feeling almost semi-conscious. They aren't monitoring themselves. They're locked onto the task. That's external focus. Here's what that means for you. Before you sit down to work, Write down one specific thing you're going to accomplish in the next 30 to 60 minutes. Not a wish, a target. Step 2. Lower your arousal to the right level before you start. Most people try to enter a focused state while their nervous system is running hot. They've just checked social media, they've been texting, they've had 3 cups of coffee. They're aroused but scattered. The Soviet system handled this with a technique adapted from autogenic training. Autogenic training was developed by the German psychiatrist Johannes Schultz in 1932. It consists of 6 standard exercises designed to induce physical relaxation by focusing attention on sensations of heaviness and warmth in the body. The Soviets adopted this method widely from the 1960s onward. Arkady Filatov, a Ukrainian psychotherapist, adapted it specifically for athletes, calling his version emotional volitional training. According to the Birkbeck University article documenting Filatov's work, his suggestion formulas went like this. You are feeling calm. You relax your muscles. Calmness and relaxation spread to the nervous system. You feel pleasant warmth and heaviness in all your body. You don't have to memorize that. Here's the simplified version. Sit down. Close your eyes. Clench both fists for 5 seconds. Release and exhale. Raise your shoulders toward your ears for 5 seconds. Release and exhale. Clench your jaw for 5 seconds. Release and exhale. Tighten your stomach for 5 seconds. Release and exhale. Then sit still for 10 seconds and breathe normally. This takes about 40 seconds. What you're doing is giving your nervous system a reset. The tension release cycle shifts you from sympathetic activation toward parasympathetic mode. You're not trying to relax completely. You're trying to reach moderate arousal. The Yerkes-Dodson sweet spot. Calm enough to focus. Alert enough to perform. One important note. This tension release sequence is based on the principle of progressive muscle relaxation, developed by Edmund Jacobson in the 1930s. It's not identical to Filatov's EVT, which also included verbal autosuggestion and psychotherapist guidance. I'm giving you the practical core that you can do on your own. Step 3. Eliminate everything except the task. Pooney's 5th component was self-control. His 4th was tolerance for distraction. Both of these point to the same practical action. Before you start, remove every source of interruption. Phone in another room. Notifications off. Door closed if possible. One tab open on your screen. One tool on your desk. This sounds obvious, but research on task switching costs shows it's more important than most people realize. Rubenstein, Meyer, and Evans published a study through the APA in 2001 showing that switching between tasks can reduce productivity by a significant margin. Every time your attention shifts, even briefly, there's a cost to get back. And you often don't fully get back. You carry residue from the previous task. The neuroscience model of flow supports this. In 2004, Arne Dietrich proposed the transient hypofrontality hypothesis. The idea is that during intense, focused activity, the prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for self-monitoring, time awareness, and internal chatter, temporarily reduces its activity. That's why time disappears in flow. That's why you stop judging yourself. The prefrontal cortex steps back. I should note that this is still a hypothesis, not established fact. A 2020 systematic review in Frontiers in Psychology found support for the model, but a separate review found the neuroimaging data too mixed for a firm conclusion. What is clear is that reducing external distractions makes it easier for your brain to do whatever it does during deep focus. The mechanism is debated. The practical effect is not. A 2021 meta-analysis by Ruprecht, Tran, and Gropel, published in the International Review of Sport and Exercise Psychology, analyzed data from 15 sports and 800 athletes. They found that having a pre-performance routine, a consistent set of actions before performing, significantly improved results. It worked for beginners and elite athletes. It worked under pressure and without it. The routine itself mattered less than the fact that there was one. Here's what that means for you. Build a 60-second startup ritual. Sit down, do the 40-second tension release sequence, state your target out loud or in your head, then start. Same sequence every time. Don't vary it. The consistency is the point. Now here's the bonus. There's one more element from Filatov's system that most people overlook: After the physical relaxation, Filatov had athletes silently repeat a self-suggestion formula. The one documented in the Birkbeck article is, "I can be unwaveringly self-confident." This is not affirmation culture. Filatov's system wasn't about positive thinking. It was about embedding a directive into a relaxed nervous system. The idea was that the relaxed state made the mind more receptive to self-instruction. You can use a simpler version. After your tension release sequence, before you start the task, say one sentence silently. Something like, "I know how to do this." Or, "The only thing that exists right now is this task." One sentence. Then begin. So here's your full protocol. 1. Write down a single, clear target. 2. Do the 40-second tension release sequence. 3. State your self-instructions silently. 4. Eliminate all distractions and start. The Soviets didn't call this flow. They called it readiness. They built it through systematic preparation, not inspiration. And while Pooney's framework and Csikszentmihalyi's framework come from completely different traditions, they converge on the same insight. The zone isn't mystical. It's a set of conditions. Meet the conditions and the state follows. Try this before your next work session. Use the full protocol once, see what happens, and drop a comment telling me what your single clear target was. Next video, I'm going to break down the Soviet method for learning any skill twice as fast. It involves something called ideomotor training, and it's the reason Soviet gymnasts dominated for 3 decades. That's it for now. Go set your target.